Started. But my name is Brigida Limpert, and I know we have a couple teams that are on here. We've got Scotty Hobbs here, who's his team is tuning in for this as well, and I know many will be catching the recording of this call. But I'm so excited to host this call and kind of kick us off here because we are in for a special treat. We have a special guest speaker on our team call here tonight. His name is Keith Callahan, and Keith is someone that I have admired from afar in this network for several reasons. And one of them is for just even the results that he has produced in his own business. He is the only person that I know who publicly posts his yearly income on a blog. And I can't remember how I even stumbled across it once. I think he mentioned it somewhere, and I went to his blog, and he has his yearly income stats since the very beginning and gives a little description of like what the year was like and like what he did that year to really grow his business. And, you know, I think that just completely blew my mind as a brand new coach coming in. And then as I myself as a leader have kind of grown to see how his income has done and how things have just been this steady income increase. And I see him as someone who has built a very strong foundation of a company here. I call it a company. And I was so excited when I heard that he was writing this book. I bought a copy on Amazon. And one of the things, I have not yet finished it. I am a terrible reader when it comes to reading physical books. I'm like all about Audible. So if I buy a book, you know, like I really want to read it because I normally just do everything on Audible. But everything that I've loved so far about this is especially how he starts off on leading yourself first and then leading others. So I don't want to give too much away, but Keith is a 10-star diamond coach. He has 25 plus 5-star diamond coaches in his organization, which I just think is phenomenal. He's a husband and a father to 5. He's earned over $5 million in Beachbody. And so we are just so lucky to have him on this call. And Keith, I will unmute you and turn the time over to you. Okay, it's all yours.
Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear. You're doing perfect.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for that introduction. I joke around with my wife that like if I ever want my ego to get big, I can just like get introduced on a call and then, and then I feel better about myself. But I've also looked up to you guys, both your business and Scotty's business from a distance as well, and just admired the things that you guys have done and really the value that you guys have brought to the network as a whole. And then, to be honest, the struggles that you've gone through and shared, and I think that like a lot of times when someone gets on the call like this, like I'm in a position that I'm being introduced as somebody that's had this success, right? But the backstory is I don't like, this wasn't the life plan for me. Like if you looked at the way that I grew up, I had, you know, just to put it out there, from the time I was in about the 8th grade through when I was like 23 or 24 years old, I was drinking alcohol to the point that I blacked out like 3 or 4 nights a week. And, you know, and then when I hit a rock bottom point when I was 23 years old down in Mardi Gras in the Big Easy. I haven't been down there since. It's like one of my things. I have to get back there and relive it from a different perspective. But I'm bringing that up because it's like, sometimes we look at somebody that's getting introduced and we look at Brigitte and we look at Scotty and, you know, someone like me that wrote a book and is here speaking, and we can tend to put that person on a pedestal. But the reality is that we're no different than anybody else. The reality is that we're going to share some stuff in this call, but this call isn't for the other people. It's not for, we've got 23 people on live. It's not for the other 22 people. It's for you. The question that goes through so many of our minds, we ask this question, can we do this? Like, can I, or it's more like this. It's like, I'm going to give this Beachbody thing a shot, but the levels of success they've hit, that's not really for me. I can't do that. And we place this ceiling, we place this lack, this limitation, and we tell ourselves all these excuses, right? And a lot of times these excuses can fall in the role of, we may play victim, right? I could do that, but this happened. I could do that, but I have this situation that, like, I have this thing that stands in the way. Or here's the other thing that we sort of put in front of us. We think that once we get to the next training, once we learn this, once we read the next book, once we, like, the blog gets set up, once I have this many Instagram, like whatever your once is. And here's the question, like, if I do my job right today, the question isn't going to be, can I do this? The question's actually going to be, am I willing to do what it takes? That's the real question that we have to put on our plates. And here's the deal, Wayne Dyer. You guys know who Wayne Dyer is? I love Wayne Dyer. So Wayne Dyer passed away recently, but he, in one of his books, and I think it was Manifest Your Destiny, he had this quote, and I remember I was on a plane and I was flying out to South Dakota, and I read this quote, and it went something like this. A lot of us have a lot of things that we're willing to do. And a lot of us, like, we're in Beachbody and I'll get on that next call. I'll do this training. I'll do that training. We have a lot of things that we're willing to do. And he said, don't worry about that list. He's like, that, like, you can get caught up in that forever. He said, make the small list of the things that you're unwilling to do. And he said, if you're looking for change in your life and you're looking for change in your business, we don't need to spend all the time on all these things. I'll do this, I'll do that. Just focus on what you're unwilling to do. And I know it feels like it makes me nervous just saying that, because that's like, boom, here's our stuff right in our face. Like, the reality is, and I'm gonna go through, and what I really want to accomplish today is the number one thing that all of us ask in this business. How do I find people that want to work the business, and how do I get them to work it, right? Like, that's the number one thing that we ask. So we're throwing a couple questions out there, and the first one is, how do we find those people and get them to work? And the other question is, I want to shift that focus today from, can I do this, to, am I willing to do what it takes? And if we end if we end today in the next 45 minutes or an hour or however long this takes us, and we can walk away and say, okay, I need to answer the question, am I willing to do what it takes? Because it's clear what I need to do. And then we can answer the question, okay, I actually know how to find people and get them working. That's going to be a valuable call, right? Like, that's going to be something that we can take action on. So I gave you guys sort of the abridged story of my life up until I was 23 years old. And what happened is, through a lot of therapy, a lot of yoga, a lot of meditation, a lot of prayer, a lot of, like, cleaning my act up. And here's the deal. I used to believe that I had an anxiety disorder because everybody in my family had that. And that's what I was told. And you know what happened to me one day? Somebody, an amazing therapist that I worked with, said, you don't have an anxiety disorder. You're experiencing all this anxiety because your thoughts are all messed up. And it was like the most mind-blowing thing to me. And I was no longer a victim, and I couldn't play that victim card anymore. And I had to, it was like, okay, I'm actually in control now, in control of and it wasn't like in that instant the anxiety feelings went away, but that helpless feeling went away. And it was like, okay. And she had started telling me about these other people who had the same experience as me. And then instead of focusing on, they changed their focus. They changed the way they lived. They changed the way they eat. Like, they changed who they were as a person. And through changing all of that, their experience in life changed, right? So when I, like, that all happened for me, then I found Beach. So I went through and I started doing all that work. Then I found Beachbody. I went through, I did P90X, and it took it to another level. I felt sure I didn't have abs like Scotty, but I had a couple baby abs under there. So, so I got in the best shape of my life, but deeper than that, and it's not about the abs. You guys all know this. It's like that twinkle is back in my eye, and like the excitement and the enthusiasm for life, and the passion and the endorphin, like all that good juju, right? Like, that was back in my life and in my body. And then this business opportunity got presented to me, but at the same time, a lot of the bad decisions the years prior, that had kind of compounded. So I was also going through a bankruptcy. Like, when I first started as a Beachbody coach, I was going through both a personal bankruptcy and a business bankruptcy. I'm sharing all of this, guys, because, and this is a super abridged version, but it's like sitting here, having talking in front of this microphone, writing a book. Those were all dreams that were something that I honestly didn't really want to look at anymore because it scared me. And I knew that, like, I had greatness inside of me, but I had been beaten up from life and beaten down from life. And then I'm grateful. When I got started with Beachbody, I had two mentors in my life so far, and one was my personal sponsor, Bob Lucido, and he's also he's a Lakota, Sioux Lakota Sundance chief, so kind of like a priest in the Christian world. So he helped me mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, on all those levels. And then when I got involved with Beachbody, I had met Craig Holliday. Some of you guys may remember Craig Holliday, and Bob was my sponsor in Beachbody, but he didn't know what he was doing. He had just signed up as a coach, so he was sort of learning it. And Craig really taught me the business aspect of this. But here's the thing that I want to really share. The biggest thing that both of those men gave me, and the biggest thing that I'm so grateful for, is they believed in me. They believed in me before I believed in myself. They were able to see something in me that I couldn't yet see it in myself. And I want you to really hear this and receive this. The number one thing you can do for any challenger you bring into this business, for any coach you bring into this business, is just loving them and believing in them. Like, it's not more complicated than that. Literally, the love from those guys. I wasn't even capable of receiving love when I met these guys. Like, it just wasn't, I honestly, I told that story about the drinking and stuff. I would say it was like my late 20s before I had the first feeling of love in my life. Like, that's how, like, cold and like just closed I was. So anyways, I'm giving like this whole backstory. What I want to share is, how do we find people that want to work this business, and then how do we get them to actually work it, right? Whenever I'm working with any of the leaders that any of the leaders that I'm mentoring, they want to know the how-tos. And I'm going to give you guys some how-tos, but the reality is that the answer is never in the how-tos. The answer is, and another way to say this, like, we want to know, like, say your goal's 5-star diamond coach, right? We want to know, what are the steps that I need to take to get to 5-star diamond coach? Here's the deal. That's 5% of the equation. You know what the other 95% is? who's the man, who's the woman I need to become to hit that rank or hold that title. But we all want to focus on the how-tos because that's easier. Here's the deal. You're like network marketing, Beachbody. What this business is about, it's becoming the brightest, shiniest version of yourself and then getting good at putting that out in front of other people and then helping them to do the same. That's it. Like, that's our business. And the more you do that, the more your income goes up. So how do we find people that want to do this business, and how do we actually get them to do it? It's a 3-part equation, guys. Part number 1 is going to be leading yourself. Part number 2 is going to be positioning yourself as a leader. And then part number 3 is mentoring those you brought in, right? And again, what we all want to focus on is, tell me how to get, like, how do I get these people to do something? That's what, anytime I'm mentoring somebody new, like somebody new that's rising up in Beachbody, the number 1 question is, I have these people, how do I get them to do something? And the reality is that you can't pick it up there. It has to get picked up way before that, because like let's jump to step number 1, leading yourself. And I apologize, guys. I am the worst at giving like this logical, like step by step, but it'll all come together. My goal isn't for you to have this step by step outline. My goal is for you to have to catch the philosophy and to catch the principles of what it's going to take for you to achieve success at the highest levels in this business, whatever that means for you, right? Whether it's you have enough money that you're covering the mortgage, or whether it's right now that you're literally going to be able to pay your bills next month, whatever that means for you right now. So we want to find people that want to do this business, and then we want to get them doing something. And that starts with leading ourselves. And here's like I honestly think, when I hear as a vital behavior, read 10 pages a day, I believe that maybe that's a start, but at some point you have to switch out of that. Like at some point, so we use this word personal development. And what that means to me is, I'm a person, I'm a human being, and I need to develop myself. So for me, what personal development is, and what I needed was, I was a wreck and I was having all this anxiety. And like, if I wanted to try to build a business like that, I couldn't, because who would want to follow that, right? So I needed to develop myself as a person. The personal development for me at one point was getting a really good therapist that could speak truth in my life, that could teach me how to love myself, how to receive love, how to give love, how to exist as a functioning, like, healthy male in this world, right? Leading ourselves, like, that's what we're focused on, this first principle, leading ourselves. Leading ourselves is, maybe we have to let go of the victim card. Maybe we have to let go of the excuses on why this hasn't worked out for us, or why it can't work out, or whenever the next training is going to be, like, once that training gets, then I'm going to do it. Because here's the reality, as Beachbody coaches, we're way overtrained, you guys. You don't need another training. We need to take action. Like, in the beginning, here's what you need to know. I'm passionate about this business, and I'd love to share it with other people. That's it, right? Or I'm passionate about this product that changed my life, and I'd love to share it with other people. A perfect example right now is, today's Wednesday, so Sunday night, I just wrote that book, right? And I believe, like, I poured my heart and soul into it. I edited that thing 14 times, literally, me and an editor. I'm not a good writer. I believe that the end product is good, but I'm not naturally good at it. And I'm really proud of it, and I believe that it can help people. So anyways, Sunday night, we had this book launch, and it was kind of crazy, and, talking on tons of calls and sharing and stuff. And the dust is kind of settling from that. And I got to the second phase of like, okay, how can I, like, what's the next thing to keep the momentum going so I can share, like, so I can get this message out there. So on Sunday night, I was like, I need to start a podcast. I've done other podcasts before, so I'm like, I'm going to start a podcast. But then I started thinking, I was like, a Facebook Live show is probably going to do a lot better than a podcast, for the simple reason that if you're in network marketing, you watch a Facebook Live show about network marketing, you find value, you can share it to your team page, right? And you can't really do that with a podcast. So this is how my mind's working. So now I'm like, okay, for the month of February, I'll like get the camera, then I'll get this, and I'll figure out how to do all that. And then, so that's how I go to bed. And I wake up at 4:00 in the morning, and I'm like 4:30 in the morning. And I was like, you know what? I just got to start this thing today. And I didn't want to do it, you guys. Like, I didn't want to start it. I wanted to do all that other stuff first, and it reminds me of what happens with us in our Beachbody business, because it happens to all of us. We don't need the stuff. We don't need we just need to start. And I'll be honest with you, the first video on Monday, there was a lot of mess ups. There was a lot of things that were wrong. It looks like I'm sitting in a dungeon when I'm recording it. The lighting was bad. I didn't have this microphone plug. Like, there was a lot of things that were wrong. But it was better than trying to figure it out. Like, the way that I look at our business, again, leading ourselves, we're in a do and then learn business. Like, it's not figure it all out, then start doing it. It's take action today and then figure it out after. Like, this business, here's what it comes down to. Take your hour or two of action, then go work on your blog and your Instagram and like all that fancy stuff. But did you talk to people today? Like, did you actually take that action to go out there and talk to people? So there's like so many different things I could talk about leading ourselves, but here's the truth of it, like the simple part of it. The sexiest thing in this business is somebody who's walking through their own stuff and sharing that. That's better than any selfie you're going to take, like any great, long, elaborate, like how it's, do you guys know Haley Christian? Do you guys know her? She is the best at this. Like, so check this out. She was Diamond for 3 years. At Diamond for 3 years, couple things happen. The switch flips, and she decides that she's going to go all in on this business. Here's what happens when the switch flips. Here's what leading yourself is about. She got sick and tired of being sick and tired of not walking through her fears and insecurities. And she decided to do that, and she did it on social media, right? She was at Diamond for 3 years. And then from January through May, she went from Diamond to 7-star qualified. And that's the only thing that changed. Because it's like leading ourselves it's like it's going to happen in an instant. And Craig Holliday used to always say, everybody in this business has a sign-up date, and then they have a birth date. And the birth date is when they really start, like, they make the decision that they're sick and tired of being sick and tired, that we're going to go for this. It's similar to like somebody that struggles with alcohol, right? Like, they could have people telling them that the destruction they're doing to their family, that, the destruction they're doing to themselves, all this stuff. But until they make the decision to actually do something, it doesn't matter what everybody else says. You know what I mean? Like, and it's the same thing in this business. You can get on call after call after call. You can have the best mentor. You can have the best sponsor. You can have everything. But it comes down to you. Because we're not in a business that you get to inherit a title. In our industry, you have to crown yourself king or queen. Like, you have to step it up. You have to own it. And again, it's not for everybody else on the call, like, oh yeah, he's talking to that. I'm talking to you. Like, you have the ability to do this at the highest levels, whatever that means for you. We start by leading ourselves, and leading ourselves is walking through our own journey. Leading ourselves is making the decision that we're going to do this thing, and we're going to walk through the things that are holding us back. We're not going to kid ourselves by saying we're doing all of this stuff, right? I was watching, if you guys are a 30 for 30 fan, you guys know what that, it's an ESPN show. Anyways, they were talking about John Calipari, and he had this quote. He said, there's coaches, no, let me take that back one step. So he's a college basketball coach, and his assistant, Bruiser Flint, said that every college athlete thinks they're giving it 100%. He said every single one of them. And he said the truly great coaches actually are able to get them to do more than they thought they were capable of. And I was thinking about that, and it just reoccurred to, like, as we're talking, it just reoccurred to me right now. Every Beachbody coach thinks we're doing what we're really capable of. Like, we think that we think we're doing the work, but we're capable of so much more. Like, we're capable, and I'm not talking about so much more just sheer grit and effort. I'm talking about so much more living up to our full potential, right? And that's what leading ourselves is about. So how do we find people that want to work the business, and then how do we get them working the business? Boom. Like, the first part, we have to start by leading ourselves, because here's the reality. If, say, you're on this leadership level of a 2, and what leadership to me is my ability to inspire other people to do more than they currently thought they could. Like, I think that's a really good definition of leadership. But if I'm at a 2, say a 2 out of 10, I can't attract anybody higher than a 2. But if I start working on myself, and I work on my self-esteem, and I work on, whatever it is, it's different for all of us. And everybody wants, like, give me the A, B, and C. And the reality is, it's not. Here's the personal leadership, like, roadmap. Where are you right now? Like, who's the man or the woman you are right now? And then who do you need to become? Like, who are you striving for? What's the ideal you? That's our roadmap. And then we don't have to tackle the whole thing at once. What's the first thing we can tackle? Then what's the second thing? Then what's the next? Then what's the next, right? Personal leadership. Because again, on a scale of 1 to 10, if you're a 2, you can't get a 5 to come into your business, let alone work the business. You can only get 2 or under. So as we become more bright, shiny, beautiful from the inside out, we're able to start attracting in different types of people into this business. So the second part, we're always continually working on ourselves. The second part is we have to position ourselves as a leader. Because again, what happens often is somebody has someone in their downline, and that person says they want to do the business, and now we're trying to figure out how to get them to do something, right? Happens all the time. But if you're not A, leading yourself, and then B, positioned as a leader, the person's not going to follow you. And for this part, I just kind of want to share how my business looks right now and the value of it. Like, catch the overarching principle or philosophy, not like the step by step. Like, you can copy everything I do, but I think the overarching principle part's the important part. So I've been doing this business for 9 years. The first 5 years, I was not like Scotty was with attracting people into this business. I've never been able to like have this people come in. The highest success club I've ever hit is 17. I've only been over Success Club 3 times. So it's like it's always been a struggle for me. In the first 5 years, every single person that I signed up, it was from me actually reaching out to that person, starting conversation, and then getting to the point that they signed up. For the last 4 years, I haven't had to do that. I want to put a huge asterisk next to that, though. I earned the ability to get there. Don't stop reaching out. I think that I think that you want to work on this attraction marketing piece, but until it's actually working for you, you haven't earned the right just to do that. Does that make sense? So I don't want people just to get, I gotta do what Scotty does and just have all these people, or Keith's gonna tell that what I'm gonna tell you and how I get people coming. You can copy what we do, but you gotta hustle at the same time until that piece is working. So 4 years ago, I did 2 things. I did this podcast called All About Beachbody Coaching. It's just a standalone podcast, super simple. And I basically said, okay, so if I was interested in coaching, what would the questions be that I would have? And I answered those questions. Then after that, I had a professional take those and put them into blog posts and like keyword and optimize. I don't know what she did, but like do all that stuff. And now they're set up. So for the last 4 years, I get 2 to 3 coaches a month that just come to me. So again, these are the people that are coming too. They've usually had an experience with our Beachbody products because they're looking to become a coach. They're like out there actively researching coaching. And they go through and they're either listening to the podcast or they're listening to the blog. And the call to action is like, if you're interested in talking more with Keith, fill out this application. Everybody kind of follow me so far? So again, just catch the overarching principle here. They go through, they fill out an application, and this is like Craig Holiday 101 stuff. The purpose of that application is to position me as a leader. And the way that I do that is asking questions like, are you willing to embark on a personal development plan? Are you willing to have a mentor-mentee relationship with me? Are you willing to allow me to speak truth in your life on things that you're going to need to improve to have success in this business? So you get the gist of the application, right? So it's somebody's coming and I'm saying, I'm the boss. If you want me to, if we want to do this, we're going to do it my way. Once they fill out the application, it goes in, then they get an email autoresponder. And this one piece has been really powerful for me. In that email autoresponder, it says, I'm excited to talk with you, but I'm really busy. Do me a favor, shoot me a text message so I know that you filled out the application. And that's been really cool because I'll get text messages with people saying that I just filled out, they're now essentially interviewing. Yeah. So I'll get these text messages where they're basically saying, I just filled out this application, super excited to talk with you. On a side note, the way my business is set up now, that's the only thing that I'll drop whatever is going on. Like if I get one of those text messages, my family knows. That's the only thing. Like if we're eating dinner, I'll drop and I'll actually do that call. But that's the only thing. I really enjoy my life, but that's what pays the bills to allow me to enjoy this life. So that's like the one time that I'll drop stuff. We get on that call, and just as a side note, lots of side notes. Whenever we get on that call, people always say that I can't believe we're actually talking on the phone. So there's huge value in that. We get on the phone, and the call really, I'm just looking to learn a little bit more about them. I'm looking to learn about what they're doing with Beach, or like where they are with Beachbody, if they've done a program, what they know about Beachbody coaching. Then I share with them my approach to coaching. And basically this boils down to, I'm not the best guy for challenge groups or Shakeology or any of that. But if you're looking to build a big business, if you're looking to maximize the compensation plan, if you're looking for somebody that's really going to push you and challenge you to be the best at this, then I'm the right person. So it's probably like a 90%. When somebody gets on the phone, like 90% of the time they sign up, send out the thing, somebody gets signed up, then they go through and I tell them that they're going to get the stuff from Beachbody, and that's, they go through, they get their account set up and stuff, but they're also going to get a welcome email from me. And the welcome email for me, again, I want them thinking a certain way. And I always send out the same things. Just as a side note, guys, I've been saying that all day today, just as a side note. If you go to keithcallahan.com/book, all these resources that I'm talking about, like how I talk to people, like everything that I'm sharing here, it's all just laid out step by step right there. So you can just get those for free. The welcome email. I love the Jim Rohn Building Your Network Marketing Business audio. I used to listen to that over and over and over. I think it's really good for getting people thinking in the right direction. I also love The Slight Edge, the book. So there's 10 steps in that welcome email. Those are a couple of them in there. They go through all that. Then we finally get on a Getting Started Right call. The gist of the Getting Started Right call. So they're like do you see where we're at now when we get to this Getting Started Right call? Like, it's not me trying to convince them to do this. It's them coming to me saying, tell me what to do. And then from there, the first thing we do is it's Emerald today. Not Emerald in a week, not Emerald in a month. We're going to go Emerald today. The reality is that maybe 1 out of 3 people might do that, but it's an expectation. Maybe 1 out of 3 might go Emerald today. There's always going to be people that don't do anything. And then some people that might take more time. And then from there, now we get to the mentorship piece, right? So we've covered the first piece of leading ourselves. We've covered the second piece of positioning ourselves. I'll be honest, guys, if you're doing the first 2 pieces, the mentoring's easy because you're walking the walk, you're doing the thing, and you're like Craig used to word it in this way. He used to take a string and he would put it on a table and he would say, okay, try to push that string, right? You get this little piece of string and you try to push it and you can't. And he said, that's how most people think mentoring is. Like, they try to get people to do these things. And he said, now put your finger on that string and pull it. And he said, that's all leadership is. He's like, you need to be walking the walk yourself and you need to be holding that energy. And I get it. Like, this is a far stretch from where some of us are, but this is a journey. Like, this whole entire thing, we started by doing this, 5-star diamond. Like, if that's your goal, so many of us want to just do the activities to get there. And what I'm sharing is the activities are a piece of it, but the bigger pieces, the energy, the belief, the personal development, like all of that, that's the magic. That's the gift of Beachbody. It's also like sometimes I wish it wasn't there because it's, all your stuff's always in your face, right? But it really is like, that's the gift. And then I'm not even going to spend time going into the how do you mentor. I'm going to touch on like a tiny little surface piece of it because it's different with every person. And again, in those resources, I have a lot of it in there. The biggest thing that I believe for mentoring, like, there's 3 words I want to put out there. I want to put trust, belief, and then inspiration. Because if first of all, like we have to get to that level that they trust me and they're willing to open up with the real stuff that's going on, right? Not the surface stuff, like the stuff that we break down and we start crying and like okay, now we're getting to work. Now we can like really start working on something. So trust. And I think trust is earned by, again, you're out there leading yourself. You're out there leading yourself, and then you're that dependable person that's going to show up and you're there for them. So trust, and then believing in them before they believe in themselves, like seeing them not as they are, but as they can be, seeing them in their power, like not in whatever got attached to them. And then that final thing of inspiring them. When we inspire people, we don't need to. I really think the goal of mentoring people is to get them inspired and then get out of the way, because we don't need to like work on like all these little like things that we're struggling with. If we can inspire someone, right? That word inspire, inspiration, in spirit. Like if we can get them into that, then all the little things like, you know, how do I do this? How do I do that? Like that all goes away because they're just like, whoo, and they're on it and they're inspired to do this. And they're in that energy. They're in that flow, that like what Darren Hardy calls it, the big mo, right? And I believe with everything, like all my being, and from talking to so many leaders in Beachbody and working with all of them, I believe that that's the key to this business. It's not learning the next Instagram training, although that stuff's important, but working on ourselves and taking the action, like actually being out there and doing the work. I think that's what it's all about. And it's also the most fulfilling and most rewarding. And, you know, it's simple, but not easy, right? It's simple, but nobody said this was going to be easy. So I'll sort of pause there. We can do questions. And one more thing I just want to add real quick, circling back to the beginning, the question isn't, can I do this? The real question, right? You get it. It's, am I willing to do what it takes? And then the other part, like, how do we get those people that are going to do this business? I honestly think that's it. And like through experience, I know that's it. Like, that's it. Okay, I'll stop.
No, this is perfect. Thank you so much, Keith. I like so much of even what I just needed to hear to kind of take this for the next level for myself. So thank you so much for everything that you've shared already. If anyone on here has any questions, this is the time to, I think I have my settings so you guys can't unmute yourself. So you'll have to type really, really fast, or let me sit here and figure out the settings. I don't know if I can change the settings so that you guys can unmute yourself. We have a question here, though, that if you were a brand new coach today yourself, what would you do? What would be those first action steps? It's a good question, Scotty. It sounds like one of the questions they would ask like at the end of a podcast. Like they would ask the guy or the woman. I would do two things. So here's what I would do. I think we all have circles of influence that we're a part of. And what I mean by that is, for me, I had the yoga community in Massachusetts. I was like a part of that community. I had my college friends. I had my high school friends. I had my work friends. And then I had my mom's side of the family and my dad's side of the family. What I would do is I would so I'm super excited. I'm pumped up about this business. I would go to the person of influence in each of those circles
And I would let them know how excited I am about this business, that I want to do it. And let's say it's the yoga community, that I'm going to talk to everybody and I'm going to start doing, like, I'm going to present this to everybody, but I want to do it with you instead of just me doing it. And I want you to be the first person, and then everything that we do together, it'll be underneath both of us. I think that that's like finding those pockets and then finding that person of influence, because two things happen. The person of influence is usually flattered that you came to them first. So I think that makes a difference. Here's the bigger difference, though. If it's you and that person of influence, now when you go to talk to everybody else, it's not just you. It's you and the other person that are already doing it. And it adds like that social proof, like they're not the first ones coming in. That's actually what I did in the beginning. And it literally worked in every single pocket. I owned a company with 23 other employees. My partner was my cousin. He was the first one I signed up. And then all the employees over time wound up signing up. In the yoga community, I had a friend who owned 14 yoga studios. I got him signed up, and then he introduced me to like 150 of his yoga instructors. So that was like how we did that. And then with, it didn't really work out with my high school friends. They all made fun of me. Reality. Same thing with my college friends, actually. And then, but on my mom's side and my dad's side of the family, I did that, and didn't really work as well on my dad's side, but my mom's side, like they all got signed up. So, yeah, I would do that over.
I love that. And honestly, that's what I did as well. I looked at like, who do I want to work with? And I think that's such a unique opportunity that we have in this business, that you get to choose. Like, who do you want to show up and work and do this kind of business with, and directly inviting those people. And I do think you made a key point that they're going to be flattered, that you want to work with them, that you want them on their team.
Yeah.
So one last question for you. And maybe it's on your blog that you mentioned as a resource, but what is the application form that you use? I'm aware of a couple different ones. I'm curious which one you use, that then you have the auto reply that allows them to get your cell phone number.
So like, what are the questions on it, or what's the platform that?
What's the platform, the application service that you use?
I think it's Constant I don't do any of that. My assistant does all that stuff. I think it's Constant Contact. I know it's not Lead Pages. We used to use, I think it's just Constant Contact. And the only reason we chose Constant Contact was because they were the most friendly in our research for network marketing companies.
Yeah.
But I think you can kind of use anything, right? They're all the same.
Yeah. Okay. No, I've just heard of Google Forms. I've heard of Woofu. So I wasn't sure. I've never heard of it.
It might be one of those. It might also be actually. So it might be a Gravity Form plugin. Does that make sense? You guys Scotty knows that stuff more than I do. Like a Gravity Form plugin that then sends to Constant Contact. That might be how it's set up.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. One last question, and then we'll let you go. But the statement has said, I believe that is what's holding me back as far as people who will make fun of me or not, like, take me seriously. In regards to old high school and college friends, they will make fun of you or put you down for doing this. And now I shouldn't care, but what did you do when they made fun of you? This
is a funny answer. So you guys are going to laugh. This is going to be a 5-minute story. I'll make it abridged. When I first got started, I didn't care. I like, my back was up against the wall and I had to make this thing happen. And I was willing to talk to anybody and everybody. So a few people in our town started to sign up. And that's really like with a lot of high school friends. I really like, actually, now that I think about it, I have 2 5-star diamonds in my team that are from my town. So I guess they all didn't make fun of me. But when I started building, we started getting some traction. 2 things happened. The first thing was a bunch of the high school guys that I went to school with made a fake network marketing company called Pumpcan, Pumpcan, and it was a male enhancement tool. They literally had t-shirts made up and made a team page that had over 200 people on it. They're all still doing the same thing 9 years later. Not doing that, but they're getting fatter and fatter, and you get the point. So anyways, like, how did I deal with that, right? I probably not in the most healthy way, and if there's any like psychology people on here, you probably wouldn't approve of this, but it worked for me. During that time, we were in a condo, like a townhouse style condo, and I had a little dormer in the attic, and that's where my desk was. It was like pushed into that dormer. So I had right on the left-hand side of me was like a wall. Like I'll do it like this. Like I would sit inside of 2 walls like this, looking out the window. And I had this list. I called it my FU list. And anytime like somebody said something or knocked it or whatever, I was like, all right, they're going on the FU list. And I was like, when I make it in this company, when I make it as a Beachbody coach and I get that first big check, I'm going to like knock on, because I was still living in that town too. I'm going to knock on their door and I'm just going to put that check like up on like in their window, in the door when they answer it. I didn't do that, but yeah, I did make the list, and I don't know, it like helped me a little bit. So I think but the deeper piece to that was I had a vision and I had a dream for what I wanted to do and the husband I wanted to be and to provide for my family, and that was more powerful than what any of these high school bullies could say.
So true. And you know what? I think anyone who's accomplished anything great, we all have stories, I mean, even Martin Luther King had haters, there's just nobody who accomplishes anything significant who does not have resistance. I mean, I had someone who wrote a blog post about me and tearing down Beachbody, making fun of me. This very same person came back to me years later asking for help on how have you been using social media to build your business? I want to do the same thing. Part of his blog post is blasting how I was using social media. I had a family member who created a like page making fun of Beachbody coaches, and like, years later has now to my face apologized and said, I really respect and admire what you're doing. And I did the same thing. I didn't have an FU list, but I definitely was like, I'm going to show them, I'm going to show them and I'm going to prove them wrong. Definitely used it as fuel for fire. And, I just don't think that like it ever has anything to do with you. So if you have anyone who's like threatened by what you're doing, it has nothing to do with you. And, you have to move forward and go for it, But yeah, an FU list is appropriate. Okay. Well, Keith, thank you so much for getting on this call. Like, I loved hearing from you. And I will tell all of you guys that he is someone that I always feel the same, that we have so much training, but if you ever need to be inspired, he is definitely someone that you can YouTube or pull up his he did do a podcast. I know it's not something that he's actively adding to, but they are still on there. And a lot of great content on there, a lot of great content in this book that you can pull up and like use as motivation and inspiration to get to work and do the darn thing that you might be in your head about. And so it has been such a treat and an honor to have you on this call, Keith. So thank you so much. I know we will have multiple people who will be listening to this recording. So it does not go unappreciated. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. So much love for you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yep. All right, you guys. We'll post the recording in our team page. Thanks for being on.